This might look like sci-fi, but I just demoed this to a closed group of senior leaders from some of the world's largest companies. AI is no longer a chat tool. We're going to see AI that reaches out to you proactively with work it's doing. Just like a team member would. You'll see it monitor an industry, identify people on LinkedIn, and draft emails all by itself. The footage is a little raw. It's taken directly from an MS Teams call, but it's a rare glimpse of agentic AI applied inside a real enterprise setting rather than for travel plans or personal errands. You'll see the moment the software as a service or SaaS apocalypse becomes real. You'll hear what senior leaders at large organizations are actually worried about. And you'll also learn why we're building this now, even knowing Microsoft will replace it within a year. Oh, and to protect the confidentiality of these leaders, they've been blurred. There's kind of been a big difference or a big jump in technology. I don't know if all of you are familiar with OpenClaw or Claude Code or Cowork, but in the last month or two, there's actually been a big jump in capability. And so this has really changed how we should think about AI. And so we've been applying OpenClaw to the types of challenges that we come across. And so the first thing is you'll see here that OpenClaw, so this is kind of, we work in Google Chat, we're a G Suite company. You guys probably work in MS Teams. I know a lot of our clients work in MS Teams. But you'll see here our implementation of this OpenClaw, as we call Oxy, has been sort of chatting me, and it is basically appears just like another person in this sort of Google Suite. And so, normally you have to go to some app, find some login, and do something like that. But here you'll see, first of all, it lives in the place that you already work, which is your sort of, in our case, it's our G Suite. In your case, it's maybe MS Teams. And then secondly, what you'll see here is that it's been sort of messaging me over the course of today. So I've had it basically, I've set it up to basically do intelligence on packaging. So it's been collecting information on packaging kind of overnight and through the day as well. And I've asked it to keep me updated of packaging information. So you'll see here, it's pinged me a couple of times this morning and also just now about some of the things that it's coming across as it's doing its own sort of autonomous research, as it were. So the first thing is it lives in the place that we already work in. And then secondly, the second thing is that it's actually working proactively. And knows the things that I'm interested in, and it's been loaded up with some context on what I'm interested in, which is in this case around packaging intelligence. And so it's proactively doing this work. And so, and then I guess related to this, to make it easy to track all of the work it's doing, we've had it we've worked on setting up a dashboard where we can see what it's found, and it's kind of logged by essentially not only date, but it's kind of categorized them by kind of the different types of news on this area, as well as the different entities it's come across. So it's sort of constantly building sort of a knowledge base. And so I can see this is like the most recent development. I can go to the source of this and see kind of what it's found, and essentially, it's kind of working on its own in this way. Any questions on this or reactions?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
How did you, so what kind of information, I'm in packaging also, so this is kind of ironic, but what kind of information do you feed, I guess, Oxy as an agent for you?
Right.
To get it to hone in on specific topics. Obviously, it's a very, very wide variety of topics. You were just saying packaging.
Yeah.
Are there keywords or what's the process to kind of say, this is what I'm most interested in? Or is it automatically doing it by looking at your inbox and the projects that you're working on?
Yeah, at this stage, the way it's working is we've given it some background context. So we've actually taught it to pretend to be working on this for Mondi, which is the packaging company, and we've given it some like hints of specific sources. This is not a robust. This is not like a robust sort of packaging intelligence solution. We just kind of set this up for general purposes, but basically, in the same way you would provide background information in a prompt, we've given it background information, and it's using that to make its determinations as to, is this relevant for Monday? Is this not relevant for Monday? Is this something I want to dive into further? So it's based on the context. I think we do want to get to a point where it can work off of essentially essentially the kind of other information, and so you don't have to teach it as much, but that's where it is at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll keep moving forward for the sake of time, but feel free to raise your hand if you have a question. So now that it's not a good question, just on top. You said at the beginning you use OpenClaw for the development. Yeah. Okay. So recently, Gartner issued one of their articles talking about the concerns with OpenClaw related to cybersecurity. Did you have any concerns on that regards, just because you're using exactly the beta? Yeah. So my point of view, and I guess what we found essentially, when OpenClaw first came out, it was actually designed as a personal agent. And what happened was people started putting it on the internet, and then it exposed all the security vulnerabilities. Over the last 2 months, the open source team has been actively working on patching all of those security issues. But one of the good things about this technology, and first of all, I expect this technology to be replaced with a Microsoft equivalent within the next 6 to 12 months, which I'll mention later. But at least the base, the packaging example and other things, which I'll also cover, won't be. But yes, the good thing about this is that you can sort of basically install it on a machine, and then you can secure the machine. And this is what I think your IT teams will really love hearing, which is that you can basically secure the machine just like you should secure machines laptops in your existing workplace. And so so you can add levels of security to it to essentially keep it within the network and give it access to only certain things. So I would say it has a bad reputation because of the initial way it was kind of came into the world. And what Gartner's pointed out is correct, but I think a lot of those things are being worked through and have been worked through, and then companies can add their own levels of security. So we've basically added our own levels of security, and the fact that it sits on a standalone machine is also isolating what it can do. And Nathan is asking a question around what permissions have we given the agent. So at the moment, this version doesn't have access to many things other than LinkedIn. So I'm going to, for example, type in here. So to answer your question, Nathan, this version doesn't have access to anything really except LinkedIn, and but we can give it access to other things. And the way we think about it is giving it access to things in the same way we would give access to an employee. So I'm going to say, for example, we just looked at this international paper. So I'm going to say, find me the right person to talk to international paper EMEA, which is like the region about their corrugated packaging operations, which apparently is being reduced. And I'm going to say launch LinkedIn in the browser to search, keep me updated or whatever. And so now what's going on is over here in this browser is actually a remote desktop to the machine that it's running on. And I'll explain this setup in a, so you see, I haven't touched anything. It's already, it's opening the browser by itself on LinkedIn. And this is a little bit slow, which is why we're getting this started right now. So it's going to kind of go through LinkedIn and you kind of search for things a little bit. But while it does that on the right-hand side, I'm just going to kind of go through a couple of things. So I'll just, so we can keep an eye on this. But essentially, the premise of this kind of session and this idea is, so far we've been using AI as like this synthetic intelligence in the sky, and that we access through like a web browser. And what's happening now is you now have this AI essentially sitting on a machine, and because it's sitting on a machine, which is the one you see on the right hand side, it can do all the things that you'd expect a colleague to be able to do. So you'll see here, it's the LinkedIn, and when it's actually using a browser, it's a little bit slow. If we told it not to use a browser and show us, it would actually be a little bit faster. But so now it can basically do anything that essentially a person can do. And so you can imagine all these different tools and other things. And so in the same way you would provision those to a colleague, you can provision it to this machine, and it will basically kind of do all the things that you'd expect. So that's kind of why that's what makes this more like a team member than just kind of a tool, and is kind of where things are headed. And so this is my setup right now. I got my computer, and then on my side here is the kind of the Mac Mini that's running this, that it's operating on. So very similar to this image I just showed you. And so what it's doing there, I'm just going to pull this up a little bit wider so you can see. So OpenClaw is the base technology, and I expect in 12 months, Copilot will have something similar to this. And so OpenClaw and this technology basically provides some base functionality, which is it's available in your existing CAT applications, for example. It can proactively go and do work, had some basic memory, and then it can generate screens. But what we've done at Prescatter is we've been looking at how we can add the layer on top. So just like Microsoft gives us a blank Word document, we're going to be, I expect in the next 12 months, we'll get a blank Copilot that can do some, the basic things of, being proactive and such. But then you need to add the layer on top. And so what we're doing at Prescatter is looking at how we can add these skills or apps on top for example, conducting targeting intelligence. And what that means is giving it all that context on what is important, how to do the analysis, giving it the data sources, building out, kind of giving it guidance on how to build out certain dashboards and things. And so as I go through the rest of this demo, you'll see more that the things that we're kind of layering on top of this sort of basic functionality. Any questions about that? Or feel free to drop questions in the chat or raise your hands as such. And so you'll see now it's come back with, you'll see it's come back with the LinkedIn search. And so you'll see it talk through kind of what it did on the LinkedIn, found some interesting leads, and then 6 results on this page, and this was too narrow. I think we saw the empty page. And then basically found a couple of hooks. So the next thing we might say is, let's create an email for this person here with the outreach canvas. So as I mentioned, we've built some skills on top, and one is basically to do this sort of outreach, and then we can ask for the link. So what this is now doing is essentially it's going to sort of help do the work for us. And what this means is that we can I said this, one of the main things that clients tell us, which they really hate, is like the tool fatigue. There's so many tools. People are so bombarded with tools, and you may have heard of this thing in the news called the SaaS apocalypse, where the value of all these SaaS companies has gone down. And so what you see here is essentially I've asked it to compose an email, and what it's done is it's come back with a screen that shows the email that would be sent, to the person via LinkedIn, and a specific email that we would write. And then you'll see on the right-hand side also the Salesforce update. And so in the past or in the present, you currently have to go write your email in your email application. You go to Salesforce, update your Salesforce, and then you maybe go to your ERP and do all these various activities. And now you can just sort of render a screen on the fly that will, and it will just show you that it can do all of these things for you in all of these different applications. And you can basically kind of make adjustments, review them, and just confirm the change. This is kind of a test instance, so nothing is actually going to be sent. But this is why we're kind of seeing this compression in the SaaS space, and this is kind of why that is. Basically because this agent is acting as a layer on top of all of these different applications that people are currently using. And again, this is a screen that we've taught the AI to kind of be able to do layering on top of the base technology. Just checking the time. So, and then the next thing I want to show you is that essentially this technology is working proactively, and one of the things that we're having it do is basically as it learns about new things, so as it's reading the news, going through various databases and such, we're having it basically build up a sort of a memory. And this is a memory that's a little bit different to your kind of ChatGPT memory, which is more like a lookup of past conversations. So we've given it guidance on the things that are important to us and how to make connections to various things. So I'm asking it. I'm asking it to basically show me what it's learned so far and the entity relationships that it's kind of developed, going through kind of all the packaging needs for the last week and a half or so. And so you'll see it's basically built up sort of a knowledge base of different sort of entities and relationships to those entities. And so when we ask it a question, it's actually not just doing a Google search, it's using the cumulative information that it's learned over the time it's been active, kind of absorbing this domain. And this is sort of another thing that makes this technology different, that we've layered on. And to just show you an example of that, I can say, for example, I need competitive, the competitive positioning map in a Mundi, who's what we are pretending we are, versus Amcor, DS Smith, Sealed Air, and we want maybe 2 axes around this, maybe sustainability, commitment versus geographic reach, and it's basically just going to use the entity information it has, the data is collected, to do this sort of analysis based on what we've taught it. And so it's and I did this to kind of run a practice run of this early, and so it's why it's already had generated this. But so you'll see, it's basically using the information it's collected over the last week and a half that it's been running to allow us to do this sort of dynamic sort of analysis on the fly. So Uh, so I'm going to just kind of go over a couple of last slides. Um, so as I mentioned, essentially, I think what's going to just again to paint the picture between the difference between a tool and a team member. At the moment, when you use ChatGPT or Copilot, you have to go to the application, you have to prompt it, and it is a sort of a self-contained application, and it's really focused more on sort of answering questions and such. Whereas this is basically something that's kind of working on its own, on a machine, and doing work and then confirming that work, as well as building knowledge continuously. And so I'm expecting that what will happen is that over the next 12 months, right now we have this Copilot, which you will probably use at work, and we have OpenClaw, which is this open source technology. And then, as I mentioned, we've developed a set of skills or applications on top of this. I expect what's going to happen is that in the next 12 months, Microsoft will incorporate this into Copilot. And so you will start to see this type of functionality. And our vision for Prescatter is really to build these domain-specific skills or domain-specific applications that can layer on top of sort of the blank Word document to really help our clients kind of get to where they need to get to. So that's kind of our vision. And in the last remaining minutes, happy to answer any questions you have. And also, if you have any short thoughts on this. So I'll just go through these questions. So does Perplexity not do the same if you give all the relevant sources to generate information, and how's the dashboard in its own space? So Perplexity, Perplexity does have like a computer, and it can do some of these things. I'm not sure. I've not played around with it enough such that I don't know if it does the proactivity element or the building of the entity relationship memory types of sort of elements. So I think there are differences, but I think Perplexity is one of the first folks to sort of incorporate this sort of base technology. And as I mentioned, I think there's like a layer on top that still needs to be added around how this technology is applied. Then the second token, how much are you spending on tokens on average? Actually, this is a really great question. So if you use one of the latest models, like a Sonic or a Opus, you probably end up spending like $100 a day. And so what we've found works well for us is using open source models. And our plan, if we put this into production, is to host an open source model on like a Mac Studio. This is like a thing you can probably look up. The Mac Studios have gotten to the point where you can host open source models. And so if we were to put this into production, we would host an open source model ourselves, keep all the data internally, and just, again, continue to secure it. And then that will also mean the cost of our token will be zero, because it's just the us running the machine. But if you are using the public, or not the public, but the APIs from the model companies, it's probably going to be $80 to $100. Rui?
Yeah, just one, because you said about Copilot eventually will catch up, and I think it will, even sooner than the 12 months, as I've seen some of their announcements at Ignite last year in November, so I think it's coming there. Are you guys, your company, also developing on Copilot yet, or not yet?
Yeah, so once the base technology is available, our plan is to transfer like this packaging demo, like to build out these apps and transfer them and make them available in that environment. But at the moment, it's not, that environment is not available, so we're using OpenClaw.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, we've been running this demo environment for about 2 weeks, and the most noticeable thing, that a factor in terms of its learning, is the model you use. The smarter the model you use, the better it's at synthesizing things and connecting the dots. And then the memory is kind of too early to say around the memory element. But as we kind of continue this, we'll kind of figure that out, I think.
Hey, Dino, a basic question. Like, how did you how did you have to set up the Oxy of the OpenClaw access to your Gmail? Like, does that have to go through your IT?
Yeah. So I haven't connected it to my Gmail. So yeah, actually I did connect it to my. So basically, so just so you understand, I'm not giving it access to my Gmail. It has a service account, and so it's its own. It has its own Gmail account essentially, and it's messaging me through its account. Does that make sense?
It's just one of your contacts.
Essentially, yeah, it's just one of my contacts here.
Okay. And do you have to, uh, but how do you go from an OpenClaw app to getting to its contact?
Yeah, so when you first install OpenClaw, it will ask you for, which channel do you want to message OpenClaw through, and one of those channels is Google Chat. There's also WhatsApp and Telegram and other things, and when you select the relevant one, there's some guidance. So if you are going to use Google Chat, you will need to talk to your IT because they'll need to sort of install some things on their side. But if you're trying to use it yourself, or most people are using Telegram or WhatsApp. Okay, thank you. Well, thanks everyone. I appreciate your attention, and yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.